Right, from December till June this year, there has been a British astronaut in the International Space Station, and most of you will have picked up on that here or there somewhere perhaps. He's called Tim Peake, and he's the first British government-backed astronaut that has ever been on the space station. There have been people with British passports on the space station before, but never paid for and trained in a way that was paid for by the British government, taxpayers' money. So in 2010, the UK Space Agency was set up, and they sort of manage the British civil space program. And as part of that, they decided that it was really quite important that there was an education program linked to this so that children of any age really could learn about space and space science and space flight linked to what Tim Peake was doing up in the space station. And it was sort of based on the idea that children like learning about space. That was taken as a given in a way. But that space also is a good topic to use in schools in pretty much any school subject you can think of. It's not limited to science, for example. And then the whole thinking behind that was that the children would get some idea that science, technology, engineering, maths, the STEM subjects were for them, that they would take it into their futures in some sort of way. Maybe some of them would take it into a career, which would be great, but at least there would be more STEM literate as a result of learning about these things in school linked to the astronaut. And on top of that, they really hope that Tim Peake is going to be an ambassador for that sort of learning in the future. Now, the Space Agency realized that it had never been proved or evidenced that this sort of thing is actually working. There have been other astronauts, so there have been lots of programs in other countries, but it's never been researched whether this has an effect on children and if it has a positive effect on children. So they funded a project together with ESRC to let the group in York, the University of York Science Education Group, led by Judith Bennett, to run a project with Jeremy Airy and Linda Dunlop and me, Maria Turkenburg, as researchers, to have a good look at how children are learning space and how teachers are using space in the learning for children, in the teaching and learning for children. So we've engaged about 50 schools, primary schools and secondary schools in this. And we were hoping to engage about 1,000 students in this project, sort of follow them for a few years, from year 4 to year 6, or from year 7 to year 7 to year 9. And just see how their thinking develops about learning about space. And in the event, we've actually engaged more than 60 teachers in this project. And we've had 2,500 children involved so far, where we've given them a questionnaire to do, an online questionnaire to really get into their attitudes to the science, the maths, the technology and engineering, and space as well, and to really get a handle on that. And then we're visiting schools to get the background on what they were actually learning and how they were learning it and what it meant to them. At the moment, we're in the second round of this data collection. We've got about 1,700 of the children's questionnaires back, so we're not quite there yet, but nearly. And we've visited nearly all the schools again, just to see whether there's been any changes in the last 6 months, whether they've learned more, learned less. Right, so we've, as I said, we've been doing part qualitative, part quantitative things in this. With the questionnaire itself as well asks some open questions about what they've been learning and what they would like to learn about all these subjects and what they think it's going to do to them in their futures. So the plan is that we're going to do this again the same time next year so that we can have some sort of idea of whether Tim Peake's legacy is still going strong. He's now back on Earth. He was back on the 18th of June. Lots of people have heard about him. Many more people have heard about him now than they have a year ago. So we'll just see how that develops in the next year or so.